Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so happy that Fuel is here to host Mindful Mondays for us. And really what our topic is about today is control. Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad Oh you're no. Here. So happy that Fuel is here Uh-oh. To host Mindful Mondays for us. And Fuel, there's some sort of problem.
You might have the live stream on.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Sorry about that. I just kicked it off. That's probably why.
Well, what is a fun morning? All right, everybody. We are going to get settled and going to get started with just one of me talking instead of both of me talking. But what we are doing today is control. And yes, it is like control can be really helpful. It can help us set boundaries. It can help us create routines and structures. But that's not exactly the control that we are talking about today. Today, we are talking about when your control is out of control and it becomes restrictive and you start to resist any kind of change in your life and you're really kind of denying the momentum that chaos can create. Our theme for this month of Mindful Mondays was chaos. And that's what this is about, is kind of that creation cycle where you have some sort of change that's happened and then some chaos that happens just before the next phase of creation, some new beginning for you. And so sometimes when we're in over control, we can actually stay in chaos longer, like prevent that new beginning from happening. So what we are going to do to start, it looks like we've got most people here and we've obviously got YouTube started. I want you to grab a journal if you have one. I would hope that this is an interactive session today. I want you to jump in with questions and with anything that you've got. If you want to tell me about your meditation or if you have problems meditating or mindfulness or things where you get stuck, let me know those. And I'm going to pop a document into the chat today. It is like a, Google Word doc. So you're going to need to make a copy of it to be able to write in it. But you could also just print it out. You don't have to use it for today if you don't. It's just to help kind of guide along our conversation. But really where I wanted to start and where often my classes do start is with a meditation. So what I want to encourage you to do is close your eyes and just find your breath. Control often hides in the body. And what we are going to do today is notice control. Just become aware of it in our lives. So I want to start with the body in this meditation just to give our mind a place to focus. And so I want you to start by just bringing all of your attention to the top of your head. And just notice what the air feels like on your forehead. See if you can bring all of your attention to your jaw. You're just noticing whether it's tight or loose or calm. And then into your shoulders. Maybe notice the rise and fall of your shoulders with your inhale and your exhale. And then bring all of your attention to your belly. Is your belly tight, restricted? Is it easy to get a breath into your belly? If it's hard to bring your attention to your belly, just take a big breath and bring your air and expand your stomach out. And then back in with your exhale. Just noticing what's here for you. If your mind wanders somewhere else, bring it back to your hips. Notice if you want to go faster. And just see if you can be where we are into your knees, maybe your ankles, your toes. Just letting yourself be here in this moment. And if control was hiding in your body, where in your body would you feel control the most? Would it be in your jaw or your shoulders or your belly? Maybe your hips or your lower back? Just noticing. And then bring all of your attention to one spot in your body that's trying to get your attention. See if it's the same spot or somewhere else. And just notice how you feel in this moment. And when you're ready, open your eyes and stretch your body. Way to go, right? It's amazing. It really is amazing. Mindfulness and meditation can change in just a few moments. That was just a few minutes of our time today. And I would love if you want to pop in the chat what you noticed or how you feel or what was challenging about that. Was it challenging to be centered on a Monday morning? Um, and yes, so fuels, we do apologize for the delay and all that is happening. And if I'm going to put in this, I'm going to put, oh gosh, sorry, everybody. My chat keeps jumping to just the hosts and panelists. This is the document that we're going to use today. And hopefully you're back with me from that, from that meditation. And like I said, we're going to talk about control. And I would love for you to, yeah, just be conscious of your experience of control. I'm going to tell you a story about a time that I fell into control where I was so control often happens out of fear, right? Something happens where we get triggered or we feel threatened and fear can pop up. And then we grab onto control to try to, stave off that fear, hold off that threat. And like I was saying before, that can actually lead to more fear in, and then you have this exhausting loop of fear and control and more fear and more control. And so there was a time in my life where I was in this loop hardcore and it ended up exhausting me. And what I just wanted to share it because I was able to finally let it go. So what happened was I've always had a part of me that is leans toward control. It was something that, I really held on to in childhood just because that was what I needed. And for me, it sounded like this kind of control is like nobody can do it like I can. It has to be perfect. I have to do everything myself. I would get really frustrated when people would waste my time. So I don't know, maybe some controlling people like this. You might also call them micromanagers, but just kind of connect in with where maybe something in that sounds familiar for you. But for me, a few years ago, my health hit the wall. I was exhausted all the time. I was burned out. It was at the point where like somehow even rest made me more tired. It was ridiculous. And so, of course, I turned to my trusty control and I tried to control my way out of it. And I made all the doctor's appointments. I went to all the places, and all the doctors said, there's nothing wrong with you. It was really frustrating, and I would cling tighter. And then I found my way to a functional medicine doctor who put me on a very strict diet. So I didn't eat gluten or soy or dairy or corn or, oh gosh, alcohol or caffeine, and just really restrictive diet. And the part of me that liked this control actually kind of thrived, and I felt a little bit better until I felt worse. Because that restrictive diet, although I learned a lot of things in that diet, I learned how to speak up for my needs, right? Restaurants were a great example of, when you're on a diet like that, you really got to get used to speaking up for what you need. I saw who in my life supported me in this diet and who didn't. And I knew that food was this really a connection point for me. And but it kept me in this stress mode. And so it didn't give me a long-term solution. I would get this little bump of feeling good, and then I would feel worse. And when I would start to feel worse, I would add in more restrictions. So then I stopped eating sugar and grains. And then, I don't know, I was going to the grocery store all the time, and I was up to my eyeballs in celery and apples and cucumbers. And with each time, I kept thinking, this will be it. This will be the thing that helps me feel better. This will fix this. And every time, my body got more tired, not less. And so I thought if I could just do this right, if I could just get it right, I would feel safe again. If I could just do one more thing. And I was afraid. The fear at each time I tried it, I was afraid of feeling worse. I was afraid that I would never feel better, that I would always feel tired. And then something beautiful happened. When you're on a diet like this and you still have, somebody's chiming in, when you go on diets like this and then you still have digestive problems and you still have all this fatigue, it becomes very clear whether it's the food or not. Because if it's the food and you take it all out, you start to feel better. But for me, it wasn't the food. What I noticed was it was the stress in my life. And so, and just a twisted sense of irony, right? I was making that stress worse with this diet. So I was able to actually just start eating everything again and manage the stress in my life in a different way. And one of the things that really helped me break that loop was a mantra. And this mantra was, thank you, body, for reminding me how good I can feel without having to be in control. And that's what we're looking for today, is just kind of this idea of how good you can feel without having to be in control. The freedom that comes from not having to constantly manage whatever it is you're trying to control. So I'd love for you to pop in chat if you have ever, just put a yes in there, if you have ever controlled your way into more stress in your life. I'm just going to read this chat quick. It says, my wife doesn't allow me to go on diets because I would control calories, waiting food, and watching the data on my phone. Yeah, we've got another yes in here. Absolutely. So I just want you to, so today I'm hopeful. I'm just going to kind of shine the light around, right? Where is control controlling you? So as we tighten our grip, the more stress we can have. And this feedback loop is significant because control often grows out of fear, but then it starts to amplify it. So I wanted to give you some examples of how we control and what that might look like, just to see if any of this, I'm sharing my screen now. Let me know if you can't see it. But I've got some broad categories here. We've got mental control, physical control, emotional, lifestyle. So if we go back up to the top in mental control, this is where I'm really good. I'm really good at overthinking, ruminating, replaying things. If you've ever Googled every possible outcome, every possible scenario that falls in here, and then the really rigid planning and scheduling. No surprises. It has to be this way. These might be symptoms that your control might be out of control. So, and then if we move into physical environments, this is where you might really turn to organizing and making sure everything is in its place. And again, control happens on a spectrum, right? There are times when organizing my house feels really good because it lets me check something off my to-do list, finish something. It, shows me how clean and organized things can be. And if that is where you are, that sounds like healthy control. But when everything has to be in its place at every single moment and you can't really relax until it is, that might be a symptom that you're out of control. And so micromanaging falls in here. I'm really guilty of this, trying to help others. One of my examples of that is, and in this fear to control cycle, when I'm in the car with my partner, I'm often scared of his driving. And so in my helpfulness, I will try to help him drive. And as you all know, that is not helpful. So another one here is avoidance. Emotional control, we're moving to this is where we would tend to suppress all our feelings, right? You can have a very narrow spectrum of what's allowed in your emotional spectrum. Nothing really big, nothing really low, right? Just kind of a really narrow, and everything is okay there. Withdrawing also comes here, perfectionism. And then in our lifestyle and body, we talked about the strict diets that can happen, but then also this over monitoring of health can happen, right? Constant symptom checking, not really trusting that your body's okay, but kind of always assuming something isn't. And then I really want you to, this last one, busyness as an armor, really notice if you use busyness as a way of not like actually looking at the fear or what might be creating some of this control and that change that is on the horizon for you. So those are the options. On the sheet that I gave you, you'll see there's kind of some places that I would love for you to check out. Which of these sound like you, right? You were just trying to notice, help you to get to see where control might be playing in your life. Are you a micromanager? And this isn't about this isn't about shaming, right? None of this is about you being bad as a result. This is like asking you the question, if you were creating your life, are these the habits that you would choose? Or are they just habits that are happening because of whatever happened to you that you choose control, right? So I want you to look at those categories and, perfectionism or avoidance or feelings and just notice, is that actually how I want to live my life? And then, right, my guess is you're going to say, no, Allie. That isn't how I want to live my life. But in the chat, would you pop in which of these are your go-tos, right? When life feels chaotic, what's your first instinct? Do you run to researching everything? Are you sure there's something wrong with your body or you're getting sick? Do you micromanage? I've given you a ton of examples of how I do this. So if you're comfortable popping in the chat how that might happen for you, please do that because I want you thinking about how this applies to your life. So you can just do it on the worksheet too. That's absolutely fine. So I think you can probably all imagine what the cost of this over control is, right? In my example in that story, it was exhaustion. It was not being able to be really present in my life. And it keeps, not only does it keep, it takes its toll, right? We live in this we live in fear. So it takes this constant fight or flight um, wariness on your body. So that creates a lot of that tension and fatigue that happens. I think that also when you're in that zone, it affects our relationships and even your ability to access things like love and joy and those kinds of vibrations, right? Kind of what are you missing out on in life by having to be so much in control? That's a question I would love for you to think about and journal on and, just kind of consider what would you choose instead of some of these habits where life feels out of control. So those are the costs, and I want to talk you through some options for getting out of this feedback loop, out of this cycle, and really kind of figuring out what is possible for you. So, one is that control can hide in the body, right? So, in our opening meditation, I asked you, where's control hiding in your body? Like the common places are your jaw, your shoulders. For me, it's like my diaphragm and my belly. They get really tight, and it's really hard for me to get breath in. So that is one signal to you that there might be fear and control playing out for you in your life. So I want you to think about that. Where is control hiding in your body? And then really when you notice that this is happening, then one of the ways out is to remind yourself that you're safe. And this is going to sound really simple, but trust me, a lot of us don't do enough of this. And one great way to remind yourself that you're safe is some basic self-care. So I know everybody's heard about self-care. So on your sheet, I've got breathing as the very first topic. So we are going to meditate today. We are going to do some deep breathing and just kind of really get into that. But I want you to consider what just 3 intentional breaths could do to stop this feedback loop of the fear and control and getting to that over control. What if you could just stop and be like, okay, I'm actually okay. I'm safe in this moment. And give yourself just the freedom for 3 breaths, maybe 15 seconds. It doesn't take a long time to do that, but it really can change your whole outlook from there. My next one is hydration, right? You're just simply telling your body to hydrate, that everything is okay. I'm going to take a sip of water. I want you all to take a sip of water. Maybe even being mindful when you do it, right? That everything's actually okay and you don't have to be in control. And then rest. So this is important to rest your mind every day. So obviously meditation, mindfulness is a great way to do that. But also you can do a puzzle. You can journal. You can, whatever it is that can give your mind the mental break. Typically, what I teach is that the easiest way to do that is by focusing on something. So again, we could use all of these things at once. You could focus on your breath and give your mind a break. Usually that's going to take a little bit longer than 3 breaths, but you could intentionally just focus on your breath or do a body scan like we did, just giving your brain something to focus on instead of that ruminating or overthinking pattern. It's really just you get to choose your focus. So what do you want to focus on is the idea there. And then sleeping. When we're in that fight or flight cycle, sleep can be really difficult. but it's essential to help us into that rest and repair mode. And one of the other great ways out of the fight or flight cycle is actually intentionally moving your body deliberately every day. So when you feel that zzz, like when I am in that fight or flight zone, I feel like a zzz in my body, like my whole system's amped up. And so as you notice that in your body, I want you to go, if you can, take a walk or do some, low impact jumping jacks in your office. Find some way to deliberately let that energy out. That will help bring down all of those hormones that keep you amped up and let you out of that feedback loop where you need to control everything. And also in that zone, in that physical energy, if you could do something to create something every day. So this will be different for each of you, whatever your creative pursuit could be. And it doesn't have to be that you become, right, an artist, but maybe you allow yourself to doodle every day. Right? These are just examples. For me, it was singing because that is just like one of my joys in this life. So if I could sing a song every day, it's a good day. So something just creative that you could do that isn't about your work or your family, something that you have to do. And again, it could be a short thing. It doesn't have to take a lot of your time, but it's important for it to get you into the momentum out of the chaos and into the new beginning, into the creative energy. Um, for those of us who use control as a way to feel like we have to do everything, getting really clear on asking for what you need and what you want. I know that this is really challenging for a lot of us, but that's one way to tell your body and your system that like, hey, it's okay not to do everything. We can ask for help and we can receive it. So that might be a challenging one. And then compassion. So compassion is my last step here, where chances are you've been controlling things since childhood. And so if you could just have some compassion when you notice it, right? Like, God, it's so understandable that I'm trying to control this situation right now. I'm afraid. I got triggered, that kind of idea. So I told you in my story about a mantra that I use. It's thank you, body, for reminding me how good I can feel without having to be in control. And I want you to think about maybe a time that you've been stuck in one of these loops where you recognize those symptoms and maybe there's like what could you tell yourself when you're stuck in the over control? What could that mantra be for you? Like something like, without having to be in control, I'm safe. Like imagine that. You could be safe without having to be in control. Um, and I want you to think about this and maybe journal on it for a moment. I've got a couple examples. I can meet this moment with curiosity instead of control, right? When you come with curiosity, you say like, what could happen here? Not this is what has to happen here. And that's one of the real downsides of control is that we miss some of the beautiful possibilities in our life by having to know all the answers. Another mantra is, I'm safe to release what I cannot hold. Or maybe my body is reminding me it needs care, not control. I mentioned that often this cycle starts because there's some change that's happening, something that is triggering the fear for you. And so, one thing to consider as you create a mantra is that whatever the change that's happening in your life is actually happening for you and through you. It's not happening to you, right? What if we lived in a universe that was for us? And how would that change your need for control? So, what if the change maybe the mantra is the change that's happening in my life is happening for my highest good? Another one could simply be I deserve joy, peace, and love. Yeah. So that could sound like, right? I know it's totally understandable that my system is in this fight or flight right now and I want to control everything, but I deserve peace and love and joy. So, those are just some ideas. If you want to share your mantra, I'll add it into our meditation. You can pop it in to me or to everyone in the chat. I'll give you just maybe like another few breaths to maybe solidify what that mantra is for you. You can just write it on your page or say it in your head. Okay. This is not easy stuff to be looking at these patterns in our lives. So, just huge kudos to you for showing up today and for being a part of this. What I want to do now is move into a slightly longer meditation than we started with, just to give you an example of what we're talking about. So, when you're ready, I want you to put down whatever's in your hands. Find a comfortable position, right? If you're sitting in a chair, you could move forward or back or side to side. And when you're ready, close your eyes. You're just settling in into your body, into this moment. And then I want you to focus your mind on listening. So you're going to hear the sound of my voice, but what else do you hear? Are there mechanical noises? Are there natural noises? Are they rhythmic or random? You're just noticing what it is that you hear. And you're bringing all of your attention and curiosity to that sound. What's one word you could use to describe whatever it is that you hear? And if your mind wanders to something other than listening, notice what it is you were thinking about, and then bring your attention back to listening. What do you hear? Fantastic. What is some other aspect of what you're hearing? Is it high sound or low sound? How would you describe it? And then if you noticed where control tends to hide in your body, bring all of your attention to that part of your body. And if you don't know, bring your attention to your belly. When the alarm is sounding that there's about to be change, this is where it often sounds from. So just notice, is this tight? Is it relaxed? What does it feel like, this part of your body? And then remind yourself that you're safe. It can sound as simple as saying inside your head, I am safe. Or you can consider the idea that whatever's happening is actually happening for your highest good. And that you're safe to change. And now I want you to bring your attention to your heart. If that's hard to do, you could place your hand on your heart. You're just bringing all of your attention to your heart space and just sort of noticing what's here for you. Often there can be emotions, a fluttering, a warmth. Whatever you notice is just the right answer. Your heart is where trust lives. And to have more trust of your life, it just all your heart needs is acknowledgement, noticing what's here. So imagine that there is trust here in your heart. Maybe it looks like a spark of light. And you're just going to let that spark with your attention grow into a ball of light, right? That spreads up into your shoulders, your jaw, the top of your head, down into your belly, your hips, all the way to your toes, all the way out to your fingertips. And just notice what that feels like. Was it a new feeling? Or did you forget that it was here? Whatever it is, it's understandable. It's easy for control to get out of control. But you can fall into trust just with your focus. So I'm going to ask you to really push your imaginations here, but I know you can do it. So what I'd love for you to do is imagine that your brain is in your heart. So just imagine that your brain just fell into your heart and let it be supported there. It's not that you won't still use all of your mental capacity and all of the logic and all of the things that your heart is really good at. You will. But what if it also was held by your heart? To me, that feels like that feels good. See what it feels like for you. Is there anything else that your heart wants you to hear? Here, we started with listening. Is there anything else that your heart wants you to hear? Then maybe bring your attention back to what you were listening to in the space where you are. So it'll be my voice, but maybe whatever other sounds are around you. If you created a mantra and you remember it, this is a good time to say it. If not, here's a mantra. I can meet this moment with curiosity instead of control. Just say that inside your head. I can meet this moment with curiosity instead of control. I deserve joy, peace, and love. Consider how good you could feel without having to be in control. And let that feeling of freedom guide you out of this meditation. You can open your eyes. You can stretch your bodies. So that was slightly longer, still only about 10 minutes. So I just want you to take notice in your journal. You can certainly share in the chat. I'd love for you to. Just what 10 minutes does, right? Are you able to interrupt the patterns in 10 minutes, these habits? Yeah, for sure. You can actually do it probably in less than 10 minutes. But what if you gave yourself the gift of 10 minutes? That would be incredible. I'm going to give you a little bit of time to kind of come back in your bodies. And I want to remind you that I have a course live on Fuel. It's called Meditation for Beginners. And whether you're a beginner or not, it's really helpful. I'm going to put the link in the chat. It has several meditations, just like the one we ended with. Typically, they're about 7 or 8 minutes. So you could pop into the Fuel app, play one of the meditations, and change your day, right? So there's several meditations there. The other thing I want you to know is that Mindful Mondays is typically here every Monday, but next Monday is Labor Day. So we won't be here. We hope you aren't here either, and that you will take some time just for you. We'll be back on September 8th with abundance. So that is going to be our theme for September. And so Danielle and Alex and I, we're the three instructors for the Mindful Mondays. We'll be here on September 8th. And then on September 15th, it'll be me like this again, but another one of our Fuel instructors, John Murphy, who's absolutely incredible, is going to join me on the topic of giving and receiving. So I hope you'll mark your calendars. It's always the same time. I'm on Mountain Time, so it's 9 a.m. Mountain, 11 a.m. Eastern. And for the last couple of minutes here, I want you to consider what's one place in your life where you could experiment, get curious about where you could loosen control this week. What's one place in your life that would feel safe that you could let go of a little bit of this control? See if you can think of something and commit to something that would, it's amazing how this can change your life, because what happens is you have more energy for the things you want to do, for the things you love to do in this life. And you get to have more joy and more love and more connection with not just like the people on your team, but everybody in your life. So that reminds me, the other thing that I want to tell you is I'm hopeful that you will bring your teams to Mindful Mondays, because when this isn't supported in a lot of cultures, right? This mindful practice in business and in life, in your personal and your professional world. And so in order for you to create a habit around it, it helps to have other people who are also in the habit, right? Who are also into this. So I want to encourage you to bring the people in your life to a Mindful Monday and get here. So, and then I really encourage you to just look for control, right? Start with the body. Where is it hiding? What's happening? Use the worksheet I gave you to kind of work it through and find your way out through some of those mantras, through breathing, through meditation, if you have the time. Maybe just simply a hand on your heart, thanking your body for reminding you how good you can feel when you don't have to be in control. Um, Yeah, I want to send you off here, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to stick around for another moment. Please put them into chat and let me know what you're thinking. And otherwise, I really am so grateful you chose to come to Mindful Monday today and to be a part of Fuel. If you're not a part of Fuel, if you're just watching on YouTube, you need to check it out. It's myfuel.io and it's an incredible app. All of the instructors are really, I've loved every course that I've done. They're really just help you see things in a new way that you didn't realize all that you were doing to kind of, you know, not necessarily live the life you want. So, um, thank you. I really appreciate it. I don't see any questions, so I'm just going to sign off and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.